Hey guys, good evening. And it's Sunday night, 6:30, and we're your new podcast, the VTT Book Club. I'm your host, Lynn, and my host is Kevin right here. Say hi, Kevin. I'm joined with
Hey,
Dave,
everybody.
Michelle, Rex, and James. And this is part of our book club. So this is our second meeting, guys, and we are reading The Asset Mindset. So the Asset Mindset, you can't really see with my background, is by Daniel Fielding. So our first meeting, Kevin, we talked about chapter 1 through 3, right? What did
Wow,
you think
yeah.
about the first meeting?
Way more than I expected on a personal level because, as you said, it was kind of almost like an AA meeting without the alcohol problem attached to it, So
Right.
it was good, and I hope we're sitting here one day with 100 people jumping in on the book club.
That'd be great if
So
Zoom could
fantastic. Let's
accommodate
I
that.
want to keep rocking it. I want to bring the added value to the entire community, and I think we got the right team in place to do it.
So we have been reading chapters 1 to 3, and we talked about a lot of good stuff, a lot of great self-development with this book. Do you guys have any input about, just to briefly go over chapter 1 to 3, what did you think about before we jump into chapters 4 through 6?
If you don't mind, I'll take the lead in that
Sure.
because those first three chapters have definitely had an immediate impact on me. And I actually had made that note because Len told me and taught me I need to make notes for this. Come prepared. And that was my question to everybody: how have you been using the tools? So for me, um, I had this like thought because I had this like really high paying job, and it took me from home from 6 months at a time. And I just had this thought process like, wow, you used to make a ton of money when you were working contract machining. And then I'm like, but I have that ability here. Do you want it? Is this something you want to make happen? And the answer to that was yes. So I have been, when overtime is available to me, getting up at 3 a.m. and going in for 4 a.m. to work a 12-hour shift. But I've carried that over because, time is precious to me right now because we've been getting so busy as a team. We're going to grow and get busier. And I'm up at 4 a.m. I'm doing things with the first three chapters that just seem completely out of my ability, to be perfectly honest with you. So that's how I've used it. And I'd like to hear how you guys are using it.
Well, that's amazing, Kevin. Anybody else? Dave, do you want to share a little bit?
Uh-oh. Anybody
Dave's
read
not
lips?
home.
Dave.
Sorry about that, guys.
There you go.
So chapter 3 to me really hit home a lot, and is making the right choices. Not so much
Right.
for me. I can relate to how I was growing up and who I surrounded myself with, but I've sat down with my children and say, hey, look, you might be making the hard choices now. You might be by yourself, but it's going to pay off in the long run. So this book, yeah, it's helped me get my mind frame reset on some of the goals that I want to do. But I've been using it more to help with raise my kids. So they're at the age that they can understand these things. So as these concepts as well.
Do you mind if I ask you an example of how you're applying that to? Because I find that interesting that you're using it that way. That's actually something that actually kind of shows you have an asset mindset because you've used it in a way that I wouldn't even have thought of, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So as an example, I have one rule with my children, and they're, when I say children, one's 21, about to be 21, the other one's 18. The one rule is don't be stupid. That kind of opens things up to a lot. So whenever they sit down and think about don't be stupid, am I in the right place at the right time to meet my commitments? Am I hanging around with the right people? Are these the people that are going to help me be the person that I want to be? So I go through as an example of, okay, I was hanging around with this guy when I was growing up. Overall, not a bad person, but he was starting to do drugs. And even though as I was trying to help him get out of it, he wouldn't. He didn't respond to what I was talking to, even whenever I was young. So I said, so I had to break off that relationship with that person because it's going to end up be damaging, even though it hurt me at the time because I'm a fairly loyal person. It was the right decision to make, and even though it was hard. So having my daughter, she's out on her own. She's not 21 yet. Am I foolish enough to think that she's not drinking? She's drinking. I said, be smart. Have a designated driver.
Right.
Do the right thing. Make the right decisions. If you're in a place that you don't want to be, call someone, help you get out of it. But that's part of, even though it's hard, you're going to hear about it, and I will tease her. I will come get her. But anyway.
That's great. And
So,
that's all
Dave,
part of the
one,
asset mindset.
I have one more question for you, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Would you like to adopt me?
Me too.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And
Michelle,
that
I
goes
know
hand in hand of
Michelle,
what we
I know
talked
for a
about last
fact,
time.
like, rolled through the book, so I know she has some input right here. How have you been using it, even though, it was, you mentioned that a lot of the things you heard before, so.
Said, when I was young, I pretty much knew where my career was going. And, I had a few friends that were involved with extracurricular activities, you may say. And unfortunately, I had to pretty much cut them out because I knew what I wanted in my life, and I knew that that's not what I want a part of my life. And basically where my career was going, I knew I was going to have to make that tough decision. It was tough, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I made some good friends a lot of places, but, sometimes you have to, like you said, do the right thing and focus on where you want to be. And, sometimes that means you have to cut some people out of your lives, fortunately.
Right.
But,
right. Absolutely. I'm sure Rex could hurry up and get out of that damn shower. He'd have some input too, but.
Well, that's okay. We'll go ahead and move on, and we're
Absolutely.
gonna start talking about chapter 4. So in chapter 4, he started off talking about his first hero, which is his dad. So his dad told him to watch and learn. And also some of the big talking points was, if you don't try, you'll never know, and if you don't
Love that.
know, it's because you didn't try. Right. I highlighted that.
That was awesome. And so for clarity, that was in Ryan Hendrickson's book, but Daniel,
Right, that's right.
Yes, and not to correct you, but just because that's actually my next book club selection, if I get one, is that, because that book is.
And can you name that book again?
Tip with the spear.
That's right. Yeah,
Thank
Tip
you.
with the Spear.
You said, thank you, Dad. But yeah, absolutely. And what I absorb history, military history, and what blew me away about Ryan's book was the fact that it's so much more. It's right hand in hand with Daniel Fielding's book, because I took so many lessons from that book, and I'm not even sure that's. I mean, obviously there was the obvious perseverance lesson, but it was, his story was my story, but we took different paths. His was the right, meaning the right way to do it. And mine, a lot of times in those same situations, was not the right path. And he made it really sound pretty simple that, why couldn't I have had the tip of the spear back in, 1982? Where was that book when I probably needed it the most? But anyway, let's continue with chapter 4. What you got for us, Lynn?
So he also proved that having a strong work ethic allows us to accomplish things that other people view as impossible. So he used the example of when he was young, he was trying to dig out the trunk, and he was just so determined to prove himself. Even when it rained, he just sucked it up and kept going. And so he had that the incentive and the goal to prove himself. And also $100 was on the line. So even with the feeling of defeat, he realized how far he had come and that it would be foolish to give up.
Right,
So work ethic is important in accomplishing goals. When we have a strong work ethic, we can accomplish things that other people view as impossible. So one of my questions is, was there a time in your life that you worked hard for something that was near impossible, but sheer determination and motivation kept you going?
As always, I got something to say. That story really hit home with me. especially the tree part, because not that I have to take notes, I just want to keep it in order. Um, I was one of those that I didn't realize that I had a mentor. I just thought I had a stepfather who I friggin' hated at the time because he made me work my ass off, on a
He
daily
made you do
basis.
chores.
It wasn't chores, it was
Oh, okay.
digging. His thing was, we were in Houston at a time when Houston was developing, so they'd be clearing all these lots of trees. My dad, in his Scottish wisdom, otherwise known as the cheapskate he was as a Scotsman, would get with the who was clearing the land. Hey, do you mind if I come in here and get a couple of these trees from you? Well, guess who was digging the tree? But the beauty of it is unknown, unbeknownst to me, he was instilling in me a work ethic that I consider to this day to be far superior to most of the people I encounter, even at the age of 55. So, and we talked last week about how, I was kind of, in my own opinion, pretty messed up, but that never spilled over into my work ethic, because that went without question. And I'll give you the reason the tree story made me laugh so hard is one of those lots that was cleared out, almost completely done, had this friggin', and I'm not exaggerating, 25-foot some type of fir tree. That was the tree my dad wanted to dig out, right? We only
That
had a
is
1974
big
Nova.
tree.
How are we getting that home? So it was exactly like Daniel was describing. It was, pushing and pulling. I mean, by then we'd killed enough trees to know how to do it right, as far as like getting the root ball. And we were getting frustrated because it was the biggest tree we ever took on. And he said, "Oh, okay, I'll be right back. I'm going to get the car. Let's pull this thing out." So I was supposed to keep going with the pickaxe while he was gone. And I remember I was tired, and I kind of leaned over just to rest for a minute. The friggin' tree it fell down right there and then. But the best part about it was right around Christmas time, and the root ball took up the majority of the trunk. And there we were. We didn't have far to drive, fortunately. There we were driving home with a root ball in the trunk of the 1974 Nova and 25-foot of tree hanging out the back. It was Christmas time. Can you imagine the looks we got going home?
Right.
But that was, and I have hundreds of
Yeah.
stories.
Did you take it home as a Christmas tree?
No, ma'am. To this day, I could actually,
Ah.
and I might do that. I could actually go on Google Maps, go to our old house, and take a screenshot of that tree, because it is still there today.
Wow.
Saved it. See, I've done my part.
That's
I am a
awesome.
tree hugger at heart.
So I would say, you had all that determination and motivation. For me, the author Daniel Fielding said that his motivation was because the guy thought that he couldn't do it. And for me, that is my motivation all the time. When somebody tells me I can't do something, guess what? Motherfucker, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it just to prove you wrong. And
Right.
so, like, and sometimes, and I kind of thought in the book, I was like, well, maybe the dad's friend was maybe being a smart ass, saying, "Oh, you can't do it," just so that the kid would do it, and then the adults didn't have to do work. Because I do that with my kids sometimes. Kind of like reverse psychology, like you can't do it, and then they turn around and then they do it. So, but for me, I love when somebody tells me that something is impossible, because nothing's impossible in my eyes. Like when I first joined the Navy, I was an operations specialist, and there is a special job in OS called AIC, Air Intercept Control, and you get to go to Top Gun school with the Top Gun pilots and stuff. And only the top 2% ever make that. And I had my eyes set on that goal, and I was not going to accept no for an answer. You had to be a certain rank to get to that school. But as soon as I got to that rank and I checked on board my second ship, nobody knew me from Adam. They're like, "Who is this girl saying she wants to be an AIC? She's new. She looks like an admin person." No. And I walked into the office and I was like, "You're sending me to AIC school. That's where I'm going. I don't care what you guys say." And I went to AIC school, and the people who were there on the ship longer than me were kind of pissed. I was like, "Well, you never said or explained that you wanted that position that bad." I did. I said, no matter what, I'm going to get that position. So that motivation is always, setting me. So I kind of relate to some of his stories about the determination and people telling you no, especially like being the new person. I am the new person all the time. I move every 3 years. And so I always have to prove my worth every single time. And then by the time I prove my worth, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, she's a good worker, but people, unfortunately, they judge you by how you look, or they judge you and think that, oh, okay, you're pretty, or okay, you're a girl, you can't do this. So I love it. I love it when I prove people wrong. And I love when I get things accomplished and what I want, because I'm going to get what I want.
Right. And before we turn it over to David, because I know he's got a story for us, Len, what I call that is what you're doing. Embrace the term professional new guy.
Yeah. That's right. Professional new guy. That's me
What
always.
you got for us, David?
So, it's another thing. Whatever I was growing up, that work ethic was instilled with my father into me, and my mother. Yeah, my father was excuse me, worked in the tin mill, Weirton Steel Corporation. He was a mill rat, and I delivered newspapers, and it was my job. Rain, sleet, feet of snow, to deliver that newspaper to those people that were relying on me. I realized when I come home from school, if the newspapers were there waiting for me, I'd go deliver the newspapers. If they weren't there, I waited until they got there and I delivered. I remember going, why am I got here? It's blankety blank cold, something I would never tell my father whenever I'm 10 or 11 years old, whenever I was delivering newspaper. Why do I have to do this? But you just suck it up and take and go deliver it, the newspaper, because those people were relying on you. And one of the more recent example of it, someone that I got a midlife crisis, so I bought a truck, and then I got an email saying, "Hey, your GI Bill's about ready to run up," and I'm a little bit over 50 years old at the time, and I decided to go back to school and get my MBA. You're too old to go back to school. University of North Carolina, that's a tough school. You work 70 hours a week and you're not going to have time to raise the family and do school. And I just put the nose to the grindstone, put your head down, lack of sleep, lots of coffee, finish the goal.
Good deal. Michelle, what you got for us?
I got nothing.
You work. That's not true, because I know from talking to you, you are working.
I do have strong.
You're a grinder. You're an absolute grinder.
That's one thing I do have is really strong work ethics. I've been working in the same job for 21 years, and I just retired from the Army for 22 years.
Ooh, congratulations.
Everybody at the same time. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
No, I do have really good work ethics. I set my goals and how I want to perform my day, and I keep those goals every single day that I work. I don't deter from them. I don't ever slack off. I just keep those standards all the time.
Nice.
No matter what kind of mood I'm in, whether it's bad, good, indifferent, the weather, it doesn't matter. I will keep those standards. So
very nice. Rex Brown, I know for a fact you're one of the laziest people on the panel. So would you like to tell us how the asset mindset has improved your work ethic?
Oh boy.
And that was obviously facetious. Rex gives me hope for his generation. Rex never received.
Don't get your hopes up.
Rex never got applause.
Wait, Rex is younger, right? You're in your 20s.
He's like 20, what?
27.
Yeah, Rex. The reason Rex is the way he is because he never got applause for an 8th place trophy.
And no, seriously.
You didn't get your participation trophy.
No. So actually, I'm not like trying to say I have like daddy issues or anything like that. No, I'm just, but like, like growing up, my dad, he never really let me do anything. I was always, he would say stand back and watch, but he never gave me the opportunity to actually do it. So you know, I really gained my work ethic. I hate to say it, from the Germans. I did a German apprenticeship in a machine shop for like 5.5 years. And those guys instilled, I mean, they would take a part that I worked on for a week hand filing, and they would say no good, and then they'd slam it with a hammer and like just bend it in half. I remember going to the bathroom, my hands from using that file for so many hours that were starting to bleed, and I'd go to the bathroom, and I remember crying one day in there, and I was like, I can't do this. And then I remember looking in the mirror, and I was like, dude, just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Like this, because everybody else was giving up. They were like, I can't make this part out of metal with this file, you know. And I just kept going. And then actually, I'm not trying to brag, but they were like, hey, can you slow down? You're making the other people feel uncomfortable. And when they told me that, I was like, shut the fuck up.
You're just doing you,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I wish I did have a better, I wish I didn't learn all my work ethics from,
Well,
you know, the job. But I mean, I don't know. I wish they were instilled in other ways, but you know, whatever.
in chapter 4, he also says to believe in yourself, believe in the work you're doing, because that's the only way you make your goals happen. And so you and Michelle and Dave all touched on that. So focusing on what's important to you on that day. And I know Michelle talked about like things can go wrong sometimes during the day, and that's where acceptance comes in. So you accept that things can go wrong, but you accept it if it does go right, but you try all you can do to make it right, you know, but sometimes the outcome's not going to be always, you know, positive or what you expect. So being aware that you can't control things, you know, sometimes it arises. So that's one of the big points on chapter 4 that Fielding was talking about.
Good stuff. Well, Len, how did you guys feel about the Dragon Warrior Code? Because you know, when I saw that towards the end of the chapter, when I saw that, I'm like, okay, here we go. This is when we get into the new agey crap. But I tell you what, the Dragon Warrior Code will probably be on my vision board by tomorrow morning.
Well, the Dragon Warrior Code kind of reminds me of any code that we say, or like even a creed. Like, you know how we have the Sailor's Creed, or I'm sure you have the Army Creed or Green Beret Creed or code or whatnot. And what he said was statements like that give us a sense of identity, a sense of purpose, and it helps you focus to get through situations or in life or whatever it is that you're tasked to do. So definitely, I think that going by a code and reciting it often helps that embed in your mind.
In that first sentence in it, I am what I am because I choose to be. That's you. That means you're taking responsibility for your action, and what you get out of something is what you're going to put into it. So that was all, and it is your choice if you want to be a slug. Or a slacker, that is your choice.
Right.
If you want to be, you know, a bazillionaire, that is your choice. Work for it.
Right. You get what you give.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Michelle, you were saying something?
Yes, she was.
Oh no, Dave pretty much was hitting the same quote I was quoting. So
sorry, Michelle.
That's all right. Time, which was kind of funny, but
So, and because I know we need to move along, but the one other thing I'd like to say about chapter 4 is how he talked about the handling of disagreements, where like when they're on the mission, they're all like, you know, giving each other shit as you know, military people do, and you really, it's not in a joking way in that context. I mean, you're just trying to emphasize you forgot to pack the pair of socks, but in a bigger scale. But what I got from that was that the way he explained when they came back to the compound, their, you know, base of operations, whatever they got to come back to as a safe place, not safe space. We don't have safe spaces as veterans. We don't need a safe space. But my stepson paid me probably one of the biggest compliments anybody's ever paid me when it comes to that. And he was young. He didn't pay it to me directly. He told his mom. And my thing is okay, in his case, let's say we're going to play disc golf or we're going hiking that day, right? And he did something as teenagers do, where, you know, I would have to rake him across the coals. I mean, I would let him know, Johnny on the spot, about what I did not approve of, what I thought was needed to do to take corrective action. But when that was over with, I'm like, okay, come on, let's go. We're going disc golf and we're going hiking. And the compliment came from him saying that, he said, you know something, Mom? He said, Kevin, when Kevin gets mad at you, boy, he'll let you know it. But, you know, he didn't use these words, but then it's time to move on. He says, but, and I really like his dad. You know, we're different people. He says, but Dad, you don't really know if Dad's mad, but you know there's a reason why he hasn't talked to you for the last 3 days. So, you know, maybe that part I didn't even realize I was being Daniel Fielding's version of an asset mindset, because I put my cards on the table and, hey, we're still in this together. Let's move on from this. So I
Right.
really related to that.
Right. That's awesome. That goes to the point where he says, let go and accept, accept that you can't control everything around you. So when you're aware of things you can't control, when something arises, don't fight it. Just let it exist. Right. So there's a saying called que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. So that
Can you sing that,
mindset.
please? It doesn't sound the same unless you sing it.
Que sera, sera. Whatever will
Nice,
be.
nice. Everybody now.
So, and I'm too young to know that. No,
No, you're not. You're an immigrant. We know it all. Us immigrants, we're cultured. See, you have to give yourself credit for being more cultured than our American friends.
That's true. Okay. So that's chapter 4. And so chapter 5, I really like chapter 5 because he starts off with saying, have the fuck it attitude. Win or lose, give it your all no matter what, and accept the outcome. So give 100%. So he was giving that example of fighting. He was in martial arts, and some big old dude who was like, yeah, I'm going to beat you guys up, blah, 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 and was up. And then so he got picked to go fight against this guy, right? And so of course he was scared, but he didn't show it. Like it goes back to the first 3 chapters, fake it till you make it. So he faked it till he made it, but he gave his all and said, fuck it. If I win, I win. If I lose, at least I gave my 100%. Right. And so in order to win, you got to show up. You got to show up and you just got to do it.
Michelle, I bet you got something to add about that. See, I was right. Let's hear what you got.
Now, why do I have something to add to that? I have nothing to add to
Well,
that.
because I know you're messing with me, but because that's exactly kind of speaks to, because I was actually impressed by what you said, because you've mastered something that I haven't, is that if I'm having a shitty day, it's still gonna affect my presence at work. So that's what I'm speaking to, is that, that fucking attitude, we're gonna do this.
Because I just know that by having a crappy day on top of something bad happening, it's just going to make things worse. And if you just change that attitude and you change things around, it actually eventually will get better. And you might even get even better with that attitude. You know what I mean? So take the crappy situation, doesn't matter what it is. If
Absolutely.
you just that mind frame, you don't dwell on it, it's basically giving it more energy by doing so. If you hold on to that feeling. So it's not just changing. And
absolutely. Dave, what you got for us, man?
So it's kind of going along with what Michelle said about the energy. You might be given a task that you don't want to do. But what I told my guys, we were given some really crap missions when we were in Iraq. I said, all right, we got a crap mission coming up. You've got the next 5 minutes to moan and bitch about it. And then after that, it's over. And we focus all of our energy in doing what we have to do and to be successful in the mission, because mainly our lives depended on it at times. So I think it put everything that you have into the fight. Even though it sucks, you really can't control the level of suckiness. You just have to be prepared and overcome it. That's all.
That's
Copy
true.
that.
Be prepared is one of like the huge things, because he says, don't be surprised by the results if you do not get, you don't get there in time, or you don't do what it takes to get there. So he did hours of training, exercise, studying, shooting, and practice, which leads to victory. So being prepared is a huge deal. It's a huge step, because if you're not prepared, then it could be a catastrophe, especially in your
Absolutely.
situation, Dave.
Absolutely. And actually, I'm, oh goodness, oh man, 35 years removed from my military service. And I
What?
just heard
I'm only
some,
37.
so I was defending your
I-
diapers. But
Kevin.
so back then I was all about, "Oh, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Don't make no sense." And I heard something just recently where the whoever was saying it was, and I wish because it was profound. It's like, no, are we going to run into combat with a 55-pound backpack after marching 20 miles? Probably not, but it's pretty friggin' cool to know that we can do it if we have to. So that
Yeah.
I wish somebody had explained it to me that way before. I wish somebody had explained it to me like you just did, Dave. That over, and back in the day, that was especially in the days of the Cold War training exercises. We didn't know what the hell the big picture was. We didn't have to know. But I wish somebody had just said it that way, for the simple reason I think it would have put a greater emphasis in that, what we now refer to as overtraining. Train until it becomes
Second
instinct.
nature. Yeah.
Nature. Absolutely. Absolutely. Rex, I know you're sitting there waiting to pounce, man. What you got?
Um, yeah. So the biggest thing for me, me and my friends, we do this stuff. I've already talked about it, the rope walking stuff where we walk between mountains. And a common
I
thing
think
is
that's
we'll have
referred to as slacklining. I'm kind of a professional in this. I think you should use the correct
I
terminology.
I am a quote unquote professional highliner that makes no money from doing it.
Just all
But
adrenaline. It's just all for fun and
yeah, yes.
craziness.
So we'll go into Linville Gorge sometimes, and it's like a 10-mile hike in, and then we have to rappel down the side of a mountain and then rig this anchor and then pull, these lines from various points to get our line across. It can take like 3 days to set one up sometimes. But like a lot of times we'll get rained on and stuff, and like we'll just be all out there it's like raining super hard, and we're just all sitting there just smiling, and we say embrace the suck. Another thing is too is like I've talked about before, when I break off like a sewer line, I'm about to do that tomorrow. So I'm like, when I get that poo poo water on me, I'm just gonna be like, oh, that's money, baby. That's money. That's the smell of money. I just figure out ways to divert. I would say I've really recently gotten good at being able to take a negative thought and I just like if my leg hurts, I think, what about a person that has no legs that can hurt? I mean, I know it's very
Yeah.
simple to do something like that, but it just helps me be more grateful.
No, that's a great way to think about that. But I do have a question about your walking. Do you guys actually walk out there when it's raining, or no?
Yeah, we'll
What?
yeah. So we'll go out at night and put headlamps on.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get like two people on it and do stuff. We'll do like rope swings where but the coolest thing about it is it's like people say, "Oh, you're an adrenaline junkie," blah blah blah. But like it's like a fighter. Like you have that adrenaline, but like that's what's like when you can almost see someone when they go from that point of being able to do it, and then they get to the point where it's like almost second nature, and they're smiling, they're laughing with you, you're making jokes and stuff. So being able to suppress that, I think that's a pretty cool thing, and I think that's helped me in life, because if I can suppress the fear of me dying and just knowing in my abilities, then it's really made me realize I'm like, what can I do?
Right.
I mean,
That's
besides
awesome.
join the military because I have diabetes.
Don't
Well, you
worry,
got to
in your
believe in
lifetime. Hey,
yourself.
And trust me, in your lifetime, there's probably going to be a conflict big enough to where this country even needs diabetics. So you're in.
Oh, good. Well, I hope not, but
Me too.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Well, you've done it so much that you know exactly what to do. And I'm sure if like a situation ever arises or occurs that, you know what to do in emergency situations or how to handle certain things so that you don't die. So you've actually like
Mhm.
taken that time to train yourself on that. So that's
Yeah,
definitely a
and
win for sure.
we actually have ran drills where we'll take like a bag and like a like a 80-pound bag that we fill up with rocks. We'll throw it out on the line and we'll say, all right, we got 5 minutes to get that person. We'll just like sling it out there as far as we can. We're like, we got 5 minutes to get them back to the cliff edge. So we'll build like pulley systems and stuff and like pull them back in, and it's a lot of fun.
All right. If you're watching this, we don't encourage tightrope walking. So if you're not
Yeah.
experienced like Rex.
There's a great YouTube channel called How Not to Highline.
There's also a show called 10,000 Ways to Die. I'm pretty sure that's one of them.
Hey, and also if you got Discovery Plus, there's a whole show right now. It's called like, I don't know, like Life on the Line or something, but I don't know. But that's a show about the work walking, highlining, whatever.
The one thing I'd like to say about what Rex does is when I got started with Veteran Trash Talk, we were like thinking, how can we, what kind of, because obviously there's going to come a time, as I absolutely believe, that Veteran Trash Talk is going to become the modern day VFW, the American Legion. We're going to have physical locations. That's my goal. That's already on my vision board, because that is the end game. Like, what is my goal in this? I want to have a place where trash talkers can show up and meet each other in person, fellowship in person, become teams in person. And to that end, I think what Rex does, because we want to provide, things that veterans can do. We want to just
Right.
provide resources, but part of that's having pretty cool, fun stuff to do. And I totally see Rex Brown teaching veterans how to get out there and slackline. Will they get up on the rope? Probably not. But just think what getting out there and because it's
No,
so
I've seen a 70-year-old walk a slack line. I mean, like, you can walk a slack line if you're old. You might not be able to high line. I mean, unless you're Kevin Travers and that's the only way you can be old and still high
But
line.
the point is like that whole, and that speaks to what Daniel, everything. That's what's crazy is we can have a conversation about anything, and I'm sure Daniel in his own way is teaching us, but the last part of chapter 4 was really profound. We show up in life by getting educated, attacking it, and giving it 100% of our effort to win. I mean,
Correct.
it's profound, but it's pretty friggin' simple too. And that's what I love about this book. It's actually one of the first, and I've not been big in self-help because they always seem so unattainable. You're setting lofty goals. Let's start with small goals. The way he breaks it down, every person who can read these words and sentences can apply it to their lives. And that's absolutely what I love about this book.
I have a testimony real quick.
Preach.
Go for it.
Yeah, well, all right. So, like, I'm not calling myself an alcoholic, but I drink every. I mean, yeah.
My name's Rex, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey,
Hi,
my name's Rex.
Rex.
Hey, everybody. Yeah. So, with COVID and stuff, I was laid off. I was at home. I was working on my house. I started. Wasn't really a big drinker, but then I started drinking, getting into bourbons. I was getting at $900 a week too, so it was life was good, right? And then
Sure, we were all drinking during COVID.
yeah, I know. So it like ramped up for me, and it like got to a point where, like, I'm drinking like sometimes half a fifth of whiskey, just in like a 4-hour period, and I feel normal. And I'm like, and that started, like, once I started Googling like how do you know if you're an alcoholic? I was like, you're probably an alcoholic. But so I had this real, and it's something that I've really realized that like I struggle with. Like I crave it. Like, it's like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, man, some Baileys in my coffee would be really good right now, or whatever, just anything. So I can say that this book like has made me, it's like I'm not gonna say it saved my life or nothing crazy like that, but I'm gonna say that by reading this book and realizing all this potential and this energy that I'm losing, like, I've went 3 days without drinking this week, and it's like
Wow,
I
that's great.
haven't done that in 2 years, so like, I'm,
Outstanding.
No,
and it's like
that's
it's not,
awesome.
but
It
it's not
is.
even like, it's not like me and my wife drank like the other night, and it was like, you know, even though she was cracking one, I was like, it makes me want to crack one, and I'm
Right.
like,
Mm-hmm.
but even though I was consciously, cracking that first beer, I was still like, I asked myself, could I go without this? And it's like, I don't even give myself time to make an excuse now. I don't make up, oh, my back hurts, oh, I worked really hard today. No, because like if I really cared for my body, I wouldn't be coming home and drinking. I would be figuring out a healthy meal to eat, maybe drink some
Right.
kombucha, take some vitamins, turmeric, take a, Epsom salt bath. Like there's all these things, and that is time that I'm just wasting if I'm drinking, and just that's it, this I'm not gonna say, like I said, I'm not gonna say this book saved my life or
You can
like
say
cure
that.
cure
You
You can say
can.
cure
that
change, not,
absolutely.
because like addiction runs really hard in my family and stuff, and while like Kevin will tell you I work hard, but damn, I play harder,
Right.
So look,
so
Rex Brown, let me just interject here real quick. As you know, and as we discussed last week, I grew up with, well, they're still alcoholics. They're just recovered alcoholics. Rex Brown, you're not an alcoholic, but it's great that you have
okay.
that introspection at your age. And once again, I may say this every podcast we do, and I don't say it lightly. As soon as I got to know you, my thought was, I want to be Rex Brown when I grow up. So you're leaps and bounds ahead of where you potentially should be at your age. So you're not an alcoholic. Put that aside, but
Well,
if
no,
what you're
but
doing is
but
getting
if
your
but
priorities
there
straight,
was a path, this construction path, this handyman path. You look at all these people that do painting. They all
Mm-hmm.
they all drink, they all smoke. The best sheetrocker is gonna be having a cigarette hanging out of his mouth while he's floating that sheetrock. I mean,
Yep.
that's
That's
just how
true.
it is. But like I'm down to break that stereotype. Like, I want to show up. I don't want to be the guy coming in your home to work on your house who you feel might steal your medication, who, I want to be able to present the best self. That way I can sell myself and my good work to the people that actually want to pay for good work.
Right.
So, this is just all the, asset
Well,
mindset, baby.
Rex and Kevin,
Rex, you did.
that brings us to chapter 6, where you take ownership of your problem and you take ownership of the situation. So the quicker that you own the problem, the quicker you can solve it, or the quicker you can figure something out, right? Is that what you were going to say, Dave?
Yes, that
absolutely.
is
Dave's all
exactly
over
right.
this.
I said he identified the problem, took ownership of it, educated himself to make sure he understood what it was, and is solving it. So that's awesome. Good job, Rex.
That's great.
Yeah.
No,
Thank you for
Thanks,
sharing
man.
that,
that's a
buddy.
great lesson.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Michelle, you're awfully quiet. You're definitely not this quiet in the community. And
I'm better.
I mean,
It's her first meeting. Leave her
oh
alone.
no, she's not shy. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me.
She'll
Trust me.
chime in when she wants.
I've already
I
got
just,
her.
I just want to,
I was prepping her today for being prepared for when we're looking for the Michelle Gunpowder Sullivan. Apparently, is she's see, and that's the
I
asset.
Ooh.
didn't
That's
know
the asset mindset that Monica was talking about. She made the business cards. Michelle, without knowing it, have to battle with that personality page, as Len was coming up with a name. That's the first step.
Yeah.
Michelle's
Celtic
way ahead of
warrior,
her.
that's you. Oh, Michelle
Yeah.
made a personality page?
Not yet, but I see
Oh,
that day
okay.
coming. I really do. I
talking
really
about
see that.
Well,
I don't know.
And in chapter 6, he talks about he go September 11. It was everyone remembers where they were. Everybody
were.
will never forget.
Mm-mm.
Right? Everyone understands what happened that day, or doesn't understand. So he decided to join the army, and as a Green Beret, because he did all his research and he actually put through actions and went in for it. So he was in boot camp, and they were like, well, what do you want to be? Oh, I'm going to be a Green Beret. Yeah, right. Eat that night crawler. And so he picked it up and he ate it. And the instructor was like, well, you might just be crazy enough to be one, because he was like, well, I really, really, really want to be a Green Beret. So he proved himself that way with that asset mindset. So it's kind of like, it kind of aligns with what you said about Monica doing her business cards, or Michelle Gunslinger. Was it Gunslinger?
Gunpowder.
Gunpowder.
Right.
Gunslinger. So yeah, so he definitely prepared himself and was willing to do what it takes to get to his goal. So what have been some crazy things that you have done to get your goal?
Wow.
You know?
Thanks.
Who's up? Because that's
I don't know
gonna
about-
take me a second. You might have stumped me there, Len.
Oh. Anyway, so if
no. I mean,
I adopted 2 kids, and I
That's
don't even know
right.
what my
Mhm.
I don't even know what my goal was, but it's
It's a
tough.
help. Being a
it-
parent is not easy,
Yeah, it's
adoption,
not.
or even if they were your biological child, you're still a parent.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
let me break that down. And something I can do right now, not those big lofty goals like having I don't see it as a big lofty goal because I want it. I got an asset mindset. It's going to happen. We will have VT chapters in every town, including the UK, because I've already got my UK. I've already got my UK chapter.
Well, me and Leah are
started.
in Jacksonville, St. Augustine, so we can definitely start a chapter there, because
Well, we
Leah
can
is
do it.
close by too.
In the meantime, I'll get 2 English boys that like to give us Scotsmen some shtick, and they just think they're as good as me. But there's no doubt in my mind that we are going to do great things. But in the simpler terms, what that chapter made me break down is, what are your goals right now? Because I don't want to get to a point where I have to say no. I know that day will come, but I want to be so overloaded with work that the answer is honestly no, because I just don't have any more capabilities. But right now, that answer would be no, because one of my weaknesses is organizational skills. I'm not a person who's ever had to be organized. And I got to love, I was talking to David Faceman VTT Trenton this afternoon, and I was saying that same thing to him, and I'm like, okay, Top, school me, teach me how to be organized. His response was, I'm so sorry. I'm going to curse right now. His response was, it's called a calendar, and it's absolutely called a calendar. Excuse me. Somebody
That's
take
okay.
Tracy.
A calendar.
Yeah. So I think what he's trying to say is, like, in order to get to these lofty goals that Kevin says, from what my background in my education, they call it SMART goals. So you have to set little tiny goals to get and achieve your big goal. Like, if this is my big goal, what are the small goals that I need? So first, get a fucking calendar, Kevin. Then second, write in that calendar about what you're gonna do. Are you going to run? Are you going to jog? Like, are you going to eat? Like, what's going on? So you have this big goal, but you have to set small, specific, measurable, attainable, goals. Are they reachable? Can you attain them? And it's not like it's it's hard to get. A big goal seems like it's hard to get, but if you do little tiny specific goals to get to that big goal, then it's not so bad. So I think that's what Kevin was trying to get to.
Yeah.
So can you guys tell me, okay, so tell me what heart means to you. So that was one of my questions, because he does talk about heart. So there was a guy named Little Man, and he ended up becoming Delta Force because he had that mindset. No matter what anybody told him to do, they kept picking on him, and he had that heart, and he kept going, and he persevered, and he pushed through the hard times to achieve anything. And if you persevere and you have that heart, you can achieve anything that others won't be able to. Or even if they have that natural ability or natural talent, if you don't have that heart to do something, you're not going to get it done. Right. So even when he talked about that black hat, an airborne school, like he was a tab protector, and he dropped out and he failed. He failed that class because he didn't have the heart and he didn't persevere, and he wasn't used to he wasn't used to being the best. So, but if you have that heart, you can definitely get through it. Isn't that right, Kevin?
Absolutely. And even though I've quit a lot of things that were actually important and easy not to quit, in the big picture, those things where you're facing like, insurmountable, if I'm saying the word right, just that overwhelming sense of I can't do this. I've been pretty good at least facing that. And actually one of the worst examples is our best worst examples is, young men, young paratroopers, we like to fight, we're trained to fight. So let's go fight at the weekend, right? Well, let me tell you something. Kevin Travers could not fight. But Kevin Travers was never scared of, facing those battles. And I don't mean, through alcohol or nothing like that. I was always the person that you only have to give me one invitation. And this is the younger me. It's not the let's go, let's go, let's go. Say let's go one time. Okay, come on, let's go. Where do you want to go? Let's go. And the one thing that I always loved was here's this little, at that time, if you can believe it or not, 150-pound, little kid, basically, because I was 17 when I went in, who was willing to face up to giants like my good trash talker friend Joe Fields. Joe tells a great story about this was through alcohol, where like I was trying to go at like a CQ sergeant, and I was determined. And I mean, that's not the wrong way to apply that, but and it's just the big picture. No fear. Jumping out of planes, no fear. It's applying that no fear principle to our daily lives that I've always struggled with.
Right. Well, so he also says that fear is an opportunity to show courage, right? So you might be
Absolutely.
scared. So, for instance, you might be scared to go back to school. You might be scared to start a new job or whatever. But if all it takes is just that one step to get going, just show up, just go, just be there. And then he also says, you realize how far you've come. Why quit now? Why quit? You've gotten there, you turned in your resume, or you turned in your credits to go to school, or you contacted the VA, whatever it is. Why turn back? Why quit now? You've
Right.
already done the first step. Keep going. Right. So just show up and keep on going. The strongest people who never quit, with that never quit attitude, and keep that mindset and make it through. So, and that's with
Absolutely.
anything in life. It could be scheduling, it could be PTSD, it could be, VA, it could be school, it could be work.
I have a basic training story to tell.
Okay.
So when I was in basic training at Fort Leonard, I was on my 4th week of basic training, and we were doing a hand-to-hand combat, and my partner flipped me over, and I landed on the ground. My head went one direction and my shoulder went the other, and I wound up tearing all my ligaments in my shoulder, and I was on my 4th week. So I finished the course.
Oh my gosh.
I finished the course, and they asked us to do push-ups. And at that point, I was cranking out some serious push-ups. So I went to drop, and I couldn't even do one push-up. I was in so much pain. So obviously I had to go and report myself. And then I wound up going to the doctors, and then they're like, oh yeah, you tore your ligaments. I'm like, oh great. So they were going to send me home so I could heal. And then I would have to recycle back, come back, fly back. And I asked the drill sergeant, I'm like, is there another alternative solution. He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, I'm not leaving this space until I leave. And at the time we were in dress greens. I'm like, I'm not leaving the space until I go back in my dress greens. So can I just stay
That's
here
right.
and heal here and then go back to training? So he's like, yeah, he says, all right, I'll go to holdovers. So I went to holdovers. I was there for a couple of weeks. I volunteered for every detail known to man. And unfortunately, the crowd I was around wasn't very motivational. They were all like soldiers that were trying to get out, didn't want to be in the military. So, I was starting to feel myself like lose that like momentum. So I'm like, if I can do just 10 push-ups, I'm going to go to the doctor. So I finally got my 10 push-ups. I ran to the doctor's office. I'm like, I need to get cleared to go back to training. I said, I can do just like, are you sure it's still a bit early? I'm like, no, I can do 10 push-ups. I'm good to go. So he signed me off. I went back to the drill sergeant and I was like, I'm cleared. And he was like, all right. He says, but we don't have a unit that's going to be starting on their 4th week. He says, the only unit that's starting right now is on red phase week 1, day 1. And that's like tomorrow. I was like, all right, sign me up. He's like, are you joking? I go, no, I'm not joking. Sign me up. He's all right, go pack your stuff. So I showed up
Dang.
day 1, red phase, week 1, again at this. And the drill sergeant went up to me and he says, I heard a rumor. Is it true that you volunteered to come to my company on day 1, week 1, red phase? And you're already on your 4th week? I said, who told you that? Apparently my drill sergeant that I was with dined me out. And I said, it might be true. I did the whole thing. I didn't have to do like a lot of the activities he told me, but I did it anyway because at that point, all the troops were all looking up to me because they all knew that I'd done all the activities already. So they're kind of looking up to me. So I was like, I did everything again with them. So, it kind of gave them more encouragement too, knowing that I was there and that I survived.
Yeah, that's definitely heart right there.
Yeah, but those drill sergeants never bothered me in that company. They didn't even like I was invisible in that company. They're like, she's crazy enough to sign up for this again. But guess what? I graduated and I
There you
flew
go.
home with my dress greens, and that was my goal. And that was my mindset. No matter what I was doing, that's how I was going to leave. So I guess
Boom.
that would stamp.
That's awesome. And actually what I'm hearing there, besides an amazing story, is the fact that you have been living for a very long time, that asset mindset, the one you spoke to earlier, the work ethic. That's not something new to you. That's obviously something that you came into adult life with. And that's what I find impressive, and connecting those stories.
Yeah, you had that never quit attitude, and so you kept that positive mindset that I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna go back in no matter if it's week 1. And like you said, you control in the book, they say control your own destiny. And that's what you did. Control your own destiny because nobody else is in control of it but you. And you took ownership of your life and the past and embraced the difficulty. So it sucked, right? So you embraced the suck for a little bit. You did it, but then you went back and you embraced the suck again for week 1 through 4. Like,
Yep.
who does that?
And by that time, she was the old timer because she had 4 weeks when nobody had anything.
Yeah, because
That-
most
that's
people
on
they
the
just want to
same-
get through it. Like, no, I don't want to
Yeah,
start
yeah,
all
yeah.
over.
So I do have I
But
do have one that
That
would
mindset,
be
though, I was just so determined. You know what I mean?
Right.
You like, I didn't care about the second part. I didn't care what I was going to go through again. I just wanted to get there and I wanted to get in the game. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
so I can actually picture Michelle week 5. Everybody's looked up to her week 1 through 4. Michelle, what are we doing this week? I got no fucking clue.
It's all new to me.
But I do have a pretty good analogy of the complete opposite of what we just talked about. So day 1 in jump school, I think we started out with probably, I don't know, a typical jump school class back then, probably 500, I believe it was. And they had us in the ground week training area, and we were in formation, but we were seated, and the black hats came out, and as everything they do, it was very purposeful, very impressive, very intimidating. And the sergeant major, he was the one that kicked it off. And I remember, like I'm sure a lot of training speeches begin, he's like, anybody here want to quit? No shit. 3 friggin' people raised their hand. We hadn't even done a jump school push-up. And these guys were like, yeah, I don't think I want to jump out of airplanes, you know? So it is a mindset, because those people had already failed in their mind. They could not see themselves going through. And I got why those people were intimidated. I was scared. I was absolutely terrified, because the Black Hats made drill sergeants look like you know, pussycats, babysitters. You know, these guys were scary for 3 weeks straight. So that speaks to, if you go into any given new situation that might improve your life, you're going to go into it with fear. We all feel fear. We all have to deal with fear. But again, and I think I spoke to this last week when we were talking about how, I related about Daniel's first jump. I got that. You get to a point where not that you have to set fear aside, but you go beyond fear. You deal with the fear, and it's time to make decisions that are gonna move you forward. So if one of those 3 guys, all of those 3 guys had just took the time not to raise their hand, I guarantee you, like me, they'd still be able to brag about being a paratrooper, 35 years after I made my last jump.
Well, getting through that fear is very powerful too. You know what I mean? Because it almost makes you feel like, man, I can do anything. You know what I mean? So it's a very powerful thing to go through.
You are correct.
That's true.
You are correct. Unfortunately, like I spoke, and I know you watched what we did last week, Michelle, but that's exactly what I was saying, is that I guess I got to be thankful that I was forced to deal with those type of fears, that extreme level of fear at the age of 17 years old, because everything that came after seemed like nothing.
Well, thanks for sharing that. So we're gonna come to a close here soon. We've been about an hour. So I'm gonna ask for you guys' final thoughts, and I'll start with Dave. Do you have any final thoughts?
So yeah, on these 3 chapters, the part that stood out to me was, you are who you are because you choose to be. And whether that's you owning up to a mistake, or you training hard enough and putting your heart into the job that you're doing, that's you choosing to be that person. So that's again, I think that was the big takeaway for me out of those 3 chapters.
All right. Michelle, any big takeaways for you?
No, just pretty much, Dave pretty much covered it. It's just having that work ethic, and, just staying true to yourself, being motivated, believing in yourself,
Yep. All good asset mindset qualities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Rex?
Yeah, same thing. It's just, I don't know if you want to call it self-fulfilling prophecy, but you are, you really, no one can do it except you.
Right. All right, Kevin.
Only that I'm actually really excited to get to the new chapters, and unlike Michelle, I don't know where this is going to end, other than my quick brief through the first reading. But I'm just totally amazed about how easily the asset mindset is to apply to your life, because at the end of the day, as veterans, we have an asset mindset. And I think one of the keys is to realize that when you're doing that thinking that takes you in the right direction, you are in fact using the asset mindset, which makes you question, okay, how can I use an asset mindset in ways that I'm not applying it? And that's really where I'm at with it. So that would be the big takeaway is that I'm learning how to apply the asset, not in the big picture things, but in the things that we face daily.
Right. Awesome. All right, guys. And my takeaway is the big thing is show up. If you want to do something, just do it, right? Like Nike. So he says, just show up and accept if it's gonna, like, you're gonna try all your best, try your hard for it to be a positive outcome, but it's not always gonna be that way, and you gotta accept it. You know, the faster that you accept that it's just exists just to exist, you know, then you'll move on and you'll live a better life. So that is definitely my takeaway. I'm so happy that all of you guys showed up here today. If you participated, if you didn't participate, we welcome everyone to our book club. We're Veterans Trash Talk. You can find us on Facebook. It's called VTT Official, Veteran Trash Talk on Facebook. My podcast is VTT Throat Punch Mondays. Kevin is the Celtic Warrior on Facebook.
I am VTT's Celtic Warrior, and I'd like to take us out with a wee song that my granny used to sing. You take the high road. And
check out our shop,
Okay.
VTT. Check out our shop on VeteranTrashTalk.com, and we'll see you again on Sunday. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.
Love you,
See you
trash
later.
talkers.
Bye.